All right, thank you for still being part of the program. It's Global Matters. On the show today, we're taking a look at the snap election that was called by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak in the United Kingdom and some of the political indices that may decide who actually forms the government in July. Joining me in the studio is Alessandro Amicarali. So I said earlier on, is a senior solicitor of the Senior Courts of England and Wales, and I'm also joined by Lagun Akiloye, who is a socio-political commentator, all based in London. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Let me start with you, Lagun. Thank you for joining us. When you heard that the Prime Minister has called an election, though it still has until January before it does that, but decided to do an early election, what came to your mind? What were your thoughts? Did you think he was taking a gamble or a risk?
I think the die was cast really as to the pulse of the nation, how people felt, and just the overall feeling of how the country is. I think that he knew that to call it around that time was the only option, purely because of pressure from his own party, pressure from the nation, and just pressure overall in just the way life are for people in the country. There was no reason for him to wait till October because many issues are yet to be attended to, and the country was in dire need of either his leadership to be confirmed or leadership from somebody else.
Alex, I mean, let me throw the same question to you. You are not just a solicitor; you are a member of the public in England. There, you go to the market, you buy stuff, you have clients you represent. What is the mood like following the call for a snap election? Do people actually think this is a risk or is it a timely call for an election?
Well, thank you very much for having me. And the first thing I can say is that most people are completely disillusioned by politics. This is the reality, you know. Yesterday, all the headlines were saying there will be a fight between Labours and Conservatives, but the real fight is in the country to survive. People are struggling. It's 5 years that people are struggling in this country, like everywhere else. And the reality is that after 8 years after voting for the Brexit, we don't really have a plan. We don't know where we are going. This is the reality. This is the very, very big problem. So elections have been announced, and it's to appreciate that Rishi Sunak is putting his face. So he said he will be there, ready to fight against Labour's Starmer, and let's see what happens. And the hope is really that people will understand that everyone needs to vote and put their own vote, cast their own vote, because it's very important. Democracy cannot be taken for granted. We have it, let's enjoy it.
14 years, let me still stay with you, Alex, on this matter. The Tories have been in power for about 14 years in England, and from that time we have had different prime ministers who have left under very controversial circumstances. The last now, well, I will not call it the last, Rishi Sunak now was called an election trying to establish himself as a popular prime minister in the United Kingdom. Do you think, by what you have said, that there's a kind of disillusionment against politics and politicians in the United Kingdom? Do you think Rishi Sunak will be able to extend the Tories' 14-year rule in Westminster?
To be honest, nobody can say that, but what I can say, probably there will be like an agreement with a part of the Tories and a part of Labour if nobody gets a real majority after the elections. This is what I can say may happen, like kind of a coalition government. And we could also get surprises from smaller parties, not just the Lib Dem, but other parties that are running in these elections and that have been doing a lot of background work during the last 5 years in the country, in the local councils, and in the society, generally speaking.
Great. Lagun, let me come to you. I mean, what are the factors that will determine this election come July 4th? What are the factors that the voters in across the United Kingdom, in Wales, Scotland, in England, will put into consideration to determine who they want as occupy the Westminster Parliament in July? Do you want to talk us through some of the indices that will determine who becomes, how people will vote in that election?
It is obviously very clear that first and foremost, the biggest issue at hand is the economy. The cost of living is biting into everyone's pockets. The mortgage and housing crisis also have been burgeoning. The cost of renting and living has blossomed to the point where it is extremely hard to become a first home owner of a place, and rents have seen a 30 to 40% increase over the past year alone. On top of that, immigration, the well-known battleground in which the Tories claim to have been stronger on, but the issue with Rwanda and the sending refugees there has been a big issue at the forefront of people's minds. The Tories actually have announced that the Rwanda deportations will begin after the elections. But the Labour government has said that if they are brought into power, they will scrap the Rwanda deportation partnership. Therefore, that's up in the air. Not only that, education, areas like childcare, to put your children in childcare, to get your children into a state-sponsored school and get the education that they deserve is very, very difficult. There are numerous battlegrounds in which the Tories have been given ample amount of time to fight and build up. And it does seem like they're still saying promises. Now, the country, like Alex has said, is disillusioned at the whole process of who is leading the country. Brexit has ended up becoming a detrimental effect to every layer of society, and they still have no answer for that. So it is the economy, it is NHS, it is education, it is immigration, it is childcare, it is housing. It is the issues that bite deepest into the pockets and the fabric of society in Britain that will be the key areas that the country will go toe-to-toe on. Keir Starmer has revealed his areas of key interest, and I have to say it is not distinct. He has gone for the Tony Blair 90s playbook, but at the same time it is light on facts and heavy on promises. Therefore, he will have to be a bit more determined and a bit more concise and pinpointed as to what a Labour government will do in power once they get there. And if they are to wrench power away from 14 years of Tory leadership, or some might say mismanagement, then they would have to convince wholeheartedly the people of Britain as to what their plan is, how to implement it, and what the people of Britain will see if Labour is in power. If not, and they cannot convince the people of Britain, then who knows, we might see another 4 to 5 more years of Rishi Sunak.
But before I let you go, Lagu, I mean, the election on May 2nd, the local council election, if all political indices still remain the same, it does appear that the Labour Party may be able to form a government. I mean, I'm not making any factual statement. I'm just going by the results of the council election that was held in May, where Labour Party did extremely well over the Conservative Party. People have said the Conservative Party should have waited to build on their losses. Others said, well, this is probably the right time to cut the expansion of the Labour Party into the stronghold of the Conservative Party. Do you think the Labour Party holds any chance to form a government? Or we are looking at a whole parliament?
I would say that 14 years in government is a long time by any streaks of democracy. 14 years to implement the plan that you had to put through, and not to even be halfway there. They had no choice but to call the elections. As for Labour, yes, being the second largest political party in the UK, they are the beautiful bride. After the Tories comes them. But are they prepared for power? Are they prepared to follow through with the promises that they have put in front of us? They still need to do a lot of things on areas of the economy, on the green economy. They have backed down on possibly 4 to 5 different promises made last year. So they are still following their roadmap, backing down, moving forward, backing down. They are yet to get their focus in line. So you are very, very right. The council elections did show a groundswelling of support for the Labour Party, but that is only because people search for the alternative, and they are the current alternative. But at the same time, in the general elections, it's very different from council elections because it is national. And if they do not come forward with a convincing plan and document and manifesto, then it is still up in the air.
Still up in the air. All right, Alex. I mean, while Lago was talking, he spoke about some of the issues that voters will put into consideration: the economy, immigration. You are a solicitor lawyer. You are an immigration solicitor. Let's stay on immigration. How serious is the issue of immigration, considering the fact that there are quite a lot of issues around the government proposal and its arrangement with Rwanda? But how serious is the issue of immigration in determining who becomes the next prime minister of the United Kingdom? And the issue of Brexit. Are we looking at another vote if, in case, Labour wins?
Well, you know,
Alex.
but let's start from the last part, the Brexit vote. Nobody wants to talk about Brexit, and if there will be a second chance to vote on Brexit, to go back to Europe or not, because that's a very sensitive topic. So also before the first vote in 2016, it was not Conservatives against Labour, but it was just Brexit against stay, you know, some remained. So it was very bipartisan, the Brexit thing. So I don't think that there will be much change in regards to the Brexit, at least not in the short term. There may be discussions, and everyone expects some form of discussions in order to have a more a positive plan for the country, because that's the main problem. As Lagun was mentioning, we had increase in rent, mad increase of rent, you know, especially in London. Within London, it's crazy what's happening. The mortgage, but also the basic milk, bread and water, which have reached prices that we never saw before in the country. So there must be a change very, very soon. And whether it is the Labour or the Conservative or a coalition government.
Well, Alex, it does appear we're having a problem with your Zoom. Alex? Okay, all right, let's talk to Lagun. I'm afraid we're having a problem with Alex's Zoom there. Lagun, are you still with us? Oh, my God. Lagun, are you still with us? Oh, technical issue. Oh, yeah, my God. I've just been told that my guests are off. The technical problem. We've been talking about the issue of election in the United Kingdom. And then we had my guest talking about factors that will determine what happens in the 4th July election: economy, the high cost of living, the NHS, and the immigration. I understand my Alex is back online. Thank you. Alex, let's quickly get back to you. We lost you briefly there. Sincere apologies.
Yeah.
Can you come back and go back to you where you were making reference to high cost of living and other issues. But
yes.
I wanted to focus on immigration matter because
immigration is a major issue.
How serious is it? How serious will it determine who becomes the prime minister?
The problem right now is that, from my perspective, you know, just my work, we see increased home office fees. Home office fees have increased a lot, and also the requirements to move to the UK in terms of offering a job to a potential migrant as requirements that most of business cannot cope with, you know. If you ask an employer to pay 40,000 per year most employers are not able to offer any sponsorship to any workers. So this is very serious because the country needs lots of workers. There are a number of professions and trades which are not covered by workers in this country. So we need people to come from abroad to cover these posts, you know, but the government has not been helping.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many people in Britain will agree with you that they do need people to come and take up their job. What they're saying is more foreigners are coming to the UK to take up their job. I know that you're saying there's a shortage of specific
yes
profession.
So many. There is a there is
in the
an
labour market,
list.
but I'm not sure how many people will agree with you.
Well, they may not agree, but we are based on facts. You know, this is the point. There is an official shortage occupations list provided by the government, not by me or by by anyone else. You know, it's an official list of occupations that needs workers in the country, for which there is no workforce in the country. So this is the point. But if the requirements have a very high threshold of salary, which employers cannot afford, this becomes a problem.
Oh, so
very serious.
Alex, the question is, how will this affect or impact on how people vote on the 4th of July? How?
Well, the problem is that most people are not aware of this. And usually...
Because, of course, another Briton out there, I'm not sure we want more people to come into their country because, I mean, the United Kingdom is an island, isn't it?
That's true. That's really true. But this is the reality, you know.
All right.
Especially in the NHS, there are lots of roles that need to be covered, for which there are no people applying from the UK. So...
All right, Alex, let's quickly turn to Lagun. Lagun, I mean, first, let me thank you for taking your time out of your very busy schedule to be part of this program. Your last take on this show, what do you... Can I ask you to throw some coins and determine who becomes the prime minister, which party is going to have the majority in that election? Do you want to make a guess?
I will do my best. But, first of all, as always, thank you for having me on today. It is always a pleasure to joust with you and trade opinions and minds on key issues. So thank you once again. If I was a betting man and I was to look at how Britain is feeling right now and to know there is voter apathy, voter lethargy, I would go with the Labour win, purely because it is innate in human beings to yearn
You're
change.
going for Labour, you're looking at a Labour win, a Labour majority in the parliament. Is that what you say?
Yes.
Okay.
I would go for a Labour win purely because...
Is that based on your background? Is that based on your background? Because an average African, British African person wants a Labour. If I'm right, I don't know.
I mean, Labour on the whole are meant to be for the masses. We are aware that Labour is to speak to the average man, and the Tories, Conservatives are for the higher end of society. Yes, it meshes in different areas, but it is high time a different approach is taken to plugging the immense damages and leakages that have taken place over the past 14 years. And categoric failure cannot be rewarded with re-election at the end of the day. Therefore, Keir Starmer should get his act together and put forward a coherent and a cohesive plan for Britain, because the door is wide open for him to walk in with his team, but he only has himself to blame if he does not put forward a believable and unified proposal for a new and greater Britain.
Okay, all right. My last question, I just need a brief answer. You said you're looking at Labour, but are you also thinking we may have a hung parliament between maybe Labour, Lib Dem, as we had the Nick Clegg and David Cameron era, and the British people might say, look, we neither want Labour nor we want Lib Dem, but the point is we just don't want the Conservatives, so let's have a hung parliament. Are we likely to have that?
I mean, Jeremy Corbyn, the maverick former leader of the Labour Party, has announced himself as a candidate of independence. He's running without a party. There might be a few spoilers in the mix. But I think that the parties will be guided by the blood pact that failed miserably with the Conservatives and Lib Dems last time. As we can see, we can only learn from our mistakes. Therefore, truth be told, Labour and Lib Dems are more aligned, not parametrically aligned, but they share closer ideology than, for example, the Conservatives and the Lib Dems.
All right, Lagu,
therefore, I would suspect that talks are being made right now for the eventuality.
All right, Lagun, thanks a lot. Alex Mikaro, thank you so much for your time on the program. We've been taking a look at the election coming up on the 4th of July. My guest, Lagun Akinloye, a London-based social political commentator, and also Alessandro Micarelli, solicitor of the Senior Courts of England and Wales, joining us to take a look at some of these issues we have raised on the program. Gentlemen, thank you for your time on the program today. Very well appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sincere appreciation to the team for making this possible. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.